Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. This is a small section of my Office Hours live stream that I do at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Come join us live and join chat. Who's going to lie to you and say this is pre-recorded, but I guess technically it's pre-recorded because you're watching this after the fact, but it's live while I'm doing this. And don't listen to them. But this is going to be different, all right? So I do this all the time. I watch when ISCs and SCLs come on, well, usually ISCs. When they come out, I tend to watch them with everybody and talk with them, kind of live reacts, as it were. So I asked chat, should I do a react to this one? Because this one's a little bit more close to home, because they do talk a lot about lore, and I do want to talk a little bit more about it. And they all said, yeah, do it. So I want to hear your thoughts down below. Please do, if you want me to do stuff like this. I don't like doing a lot of react stuff. I find that it's kind of low engagement content. But I know people like watching me kind of go through information and give my own spin on it. So please do let me know if this is good or not. But for now, let's take a look at the first Inside Star Citizen of 2025, content driven.
If you watched last week's 3-hour special edition of Star Citizen Live, you heard a lot about the evolution of this year's patches, how often they're going to come out, and how our shows are changing to reflect that. And if you didn't, well, I'm not really going to recap all that here. But this week, we sat down with some of the non-feature folk to talk about the content-driven side of this new initiative.
Also, that is a Perseus.
Where did this idea of a content-driven push come from?
Well, as we sort of alluded to in the 1.0 presentation at CitizenCon, there's been a desire to get more emphasis on starting to build the storylines and the characters of Star Citizen Universe and getting them actually in game.
The way the content patches are going to break down are we're ultimately trying to provide new content to you each month. Alongside all of this, we're going to be essentially providing new missions, new events, kind of a lot of what we've done before, but taking it up to the next level.
This was an opportunity to start figuring out ways to engage the players in a growing and expanding storyline.
We're going to be sending you all the way around the verse, doing lots of different varied types of gameplay. You'll still be doing events that are prevalent to a story that we're going to be working on as well.
I got you covered!
As well as new missions that build up the existing roster.
Covered!
As well as new
Eckhart Security Priority Mission, Cargo Recovery. That's interesting. Well, I mean, the other ones there are Slicer's missions, so, you know. I don't remember this one. No, this is Save Stanton. Yeah, this is Save Stanton. This is one of the Save Stanton ones. I remember it was Eckhart Security. Because I realized it says at the top, it's like Eckhart Security. Let me detail. No, this is just an old Save Stanton one.
Missions that build up the existing roster that we actually have in game already. There will be some content that is only there for a limited amount of time, but ultimately a lot of this content is still going to persist when we hit to Star Citizen 1.0. So we're actually building out the larger content map that exists in the game. On top of that, there's going to be a huge focus now on stability and quality of life too, because we want a stable environment for our developers to work in, but we also want a stable game that's less buggy, less crashes, and much more pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
What's the word? Today's been rough.
And much more.
Adric. He's got an Adric stuff. Fuck. For those of you who know, Adeptus Ridiculous. Fantastic content. Go watch them, especially if you're interested in Warhammer 40K. I recognize that. That's just a little guy shirt. That stuff. It's Adric. For those who don't know, a lot of Star Citizen's developers are huge Warhammer 40K fans and Warhammer fans in general, and it shows. It definitely shows. And the fact that one of their mission designers is a 40K fan is not surprising to me. We'll go over this a little bit more in there in a bit, but yeah, it's a good indication.
Pleasant for you guys to play day to day.
What's the word? Today's been rough.
As far as the structure for how we're going to tell the story, one of the things that we were kind of excited to try for it was actually utilizing a storytelling structure that's usually used in TV shows. Basically, there's usually an A story and a B story that happen within a single episode. If you're Seinfeld, you have a C story as well, because they're just that good. But there's the A story is sort of your primary story, your B story is sort of a supplemental ancillary story that sometimes can feed into it, but sometimes can be standalone. And it's just a way to kind of keep the scenes dynamic and kind of make them feel alive. So what we're trying to do is actually utilize kind of a similar thing, but stretched out over a longer period of time. And the idea being that A, it makes the universe feel bigger. So there's not just one thing happening that's consuming the entire universe. But also, if you're not interested in the A story, if for whatever reason it's not engaging you, you have something else that you can kind of do. So the idea is that hopefully that one of the two stories, hopefully both, but if not, one of the two stories will be fun and exciting and kind of offer a new insight to the Star Citizen universe.
It's an interesting take. A story, B story plot lines work in episodic content because you usually have a main story and a secondary story. I think it could work. The main concern I have is that it requires serialization. They're talking, for those who don't know what serialization is, it's Game of Thrones where like every episode builds on each other, so you have to watch everything from the very beginning in order to understand what's going on, rather than, Monster of the Week or there's a lot of terms for it. So what they're trying to do, in my guess, is that they're trying to do a serialized story where you start at the beginning and you work all the way to the end. And that in that process, each release, each phase, or each episode or chapter is going to be a small segment which will build onto each other as they go through. It's an interesting idea. It's not unique. Other games have done that. Hitman does that pretty famously, but they usually also do a lot of self-contained stuff. I think Mass Effect 2 is probably one of the more famous examples of that sort of style, where like each mission builds into each other because it's all toward a major conclusion. So it's sort of serialized because things kind of matter with that. But I'm interested to see what's going on with that at the very least, especially if they actually do something other than text missions. And I'll talk about that at the end of this.
Currently, the plan is actually that the A story, we've already started it, and is actually going to be going through September. And then the B story is a little bit smaller, but it starts basically in April and goes on. So it's a multi-month thing. So it goes on until about October. Once this A story and B story kind of resolve themselves, we have a new A story that starts up and a new B story. So we sort of bounce back and forth. So some months we'll have more B story than A story. Some other months we'll have more A story than B story. But it gives us a way to kind of, again, pull in a lot of different facets of the universe, and whether it's gameplay, mission types, ships, and not have to figure out one overarching narrative that somehow encapsulates everything.
This doesn't replace that big storyline that we talked about at CitizenCon.
No, this doesn't replace that, the 1.0 story, but it is actually kind of offering an exciting opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for that type of storytelling in the game.
Hey! So what I've been thinking for a while is that what CIG is doing right now for the stories that they're going to be telling this year and in the following years leading up to 1.0 is the preview, like the prelude. So I'm imagining that a lot of stuff we're going to hear about is setting the stage and them testing out how to do storytelling in Star Citizen that works. And while I know I actually talked with a couple people who seem to be very critical of this storytelling style, I am a little bit myself, it's also important to understand that this is new to the people doing it. And also, even if you're an experienced writer, this is a different story, different universe. So it's going to take some time for them to get their feet to figure out how to tell the story in a way that makes sense for players to enjoy. There are some things that, again, I'll talk about at the end, which I think they should probably keep in mind. But let's listen to a little of the story so far.
Save Stanton is an event that spans over a few months, and it is all about a gang that has invaded Stanton. And it's not one of the usual ones either. It's not one of the usual suspects.
So this started in 324, where we made this narrative journey that players would go on.
The big story beat was that there was a new outlaw pack sort of showed up in Stanton's system and was wreaking
This looks
havoc.
great.
They were known as the Slicers.
This looks fantastic. Why didn't we play this?
And were launching basically devastating attacks against the local population.
Targeting cargo ships, stealing cargo, targeting different locations around Stanton, such as UGFs and outposts, inhabiting them, and also going around stealing sensitive data that the CDF do not want them to have.
The CDF had got all of the players to come and help. After the players sort of stopped them from doing that, the Slicers had showed their power and showed what they was really about and brought in an Idris that players had to try and reclaim off of them.
The viciousness of the attacks and the sort of unprovoked aspect of it is just sort of highlighting effectively what the problem is with Pyro, is that you have this sort of lawless haven for outlaws right next door to Stanton, and basically they have the freedom to kind of come and attack when they want to.
So these people just lived in a hole and decided to come to another place and make it a hole?
Some people just love chaos.
With 401, the player will find themselves in Pyro, ready to defend it or attack it. Depending on which one you've chosen, you'll be locked into that faction. So you can choose the Citizens for Prosperity, the Headhunters, or the Frontier Fighters. If you're working for the Citizens of Prosperity, you're doing more aid work. You're there to help people. You're not really doing much combat work. They're trying to make sure everyone survives this by passing out food, water, medical supplies.
They're basically like, we believe that there's good in this system, there are certainly bad elements, but you're just going to exacerbate the problem by trying to solve it with violence.
Yeah, so instead we're going to solve it with corporate phone donations. We'll bring that up later.
And the Headhunters are an old-time gang who've lived there for a long time. They know the land, they know the rules, and they're unhappy that these rules are being crossed.
Headhunters would want you in their group because they kick ass and they're fun to hang out with.
So they're on the offensive. They're here and they're going, you're not attacking our home. They're basically going to be just trying to kill the Frontier Fighters. And the Frontier Fighters want everybody dead. They're going nuclear Earth. You will be killing civilians. You will be killing headhunters. You'll be killing Xenothreat. They don't care who. If you are in Pyro and you're not them, you're dead.
That would have been nice to know. That would have been nice for, in the game for people to hear that from them. I mean, they kind of did, but not really. This is one of the problems that I have with how they're doing this right now, because it feels bad. I'll talk about it later in a bit.
What's up the Frontier Fighters' ass?
A lot of explosives.
They're perfect for someone like the Darklaw. I don't know what that says about him.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Frontier Fighters is basically justice for Stanton.
They just want to live life in Stanton without being interrupted every 5 seconds. They want to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Are you being honest about the Frontier Fighters right now?
No.
No.
Yeah.
The Citizens for Prosperity have seemingly found something out, but they're not telling you as an operative exactly what. They are sending you to defend their data runners, and they're trying to get them out of Pyro, and they're asking you to go on the offensive now and attack the Frontier Fighters. Which isn't usual for the CFP. They're trying to be more of a peaceful group.
This peaceful group, who is totally peaceful and not violent at all, is attacking the Frontier Fighters.
Group in this operation, but now they're not.
peace through superior firepower. Exactly.
And the Frontier fighters are aware of this data that the CFP have. They have reported that they think it's to do with their attack plan on Pyro. So they're asking their operatives to take out the data runners that the CFP are trying to get out.
I'll cover you.
And also destroy any CFP-controlled servers to make sure that the data is gone and lost for good.
And the headhunters?
Headhunters, again, carrying on their violent approach of sustaining their locations, reclaiming their locations. Where Frontier fighters might have set up, they will go back in and explode every material that they had so they can get their outpost back. At the end of all this, you'll learn things.
You might learn a few things about the intentions of each of those factions. You might learn something more about yourself and what moral choices you decided to make and ways that us as designers got to clear.
Horribly. Like, it's not good. Like, I'm not saying like the thing they wrote was not good. It's just like bad writing.
At the end of this chapter, this leaves us with the truth of what was really happening and sets the stage for something more to come. The story doesn't end here.
I'll keep them occupied.
The way that this story ultimately is intending to play out, there are actually going to be real ramifications based on the group community choices that are made. So that will actually change the direction of the universe. Or it can either go one way or it can go the other way. So we're actually going to be playing around a lot with ways that players can decide how they want the universe to change.
That's good.
So moving forward, there's going to be a bit of a twist that comes down the road, which is going to escalate basically the situation into one of our first big events. With this, it basically allows us to plan out a bit more and actually, again, start to build a growing narrative.
Giving players more of a reason to engage and be able to talk to each other and like, hey, where did you get that item from? Oh, well, I was here when this happened, and I was here when this happened. Definable points in our universe's history.
I like that idea.
It adds to the universe, it adds to the story of it all, and it means that you as a player help build this world out.
So I'm really excited about the changes coming in. It's going to allow us to get more fun content in your hands more often. And it's going to provide a much more stable environment for us to work in, but also for you to play in as well.
Up until this point, we've actually been honing in on gameplay mechanics and more kind of under the hood stuff. We have a lot of data pads in the game to kind of do the heavy lifting for storytelling now. This is allowing us to kind of
Bad.
push on those other facets as a way to kind of be higher impact storytelling techniques.
Geez, that would be cool.
So with a patch almost every month this year, building the narratives of the Stanton and Pyro systems with new content less reliant on big feature work, and packed between as many bug fixes and refinements as we can manage, we aim to deliver a progressive series of improvements in storytelling that will change life in the verse for the better throughout 2025. Oh, and last month, we launched a new bi-monthly Squadron 42 newsletter with exclusive video content, ringtones, wallpapers, and even merch. If you missed it, you can go to the Squadron 42 or account settings sections of the RSI website to opt in and not miss out on the next exclusive offerings. Or don't. I don't get any commission or anything. I just thought the stickers were neat. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with a look at Alpha 402, Supply or Die.
All right. So, good episode. I think that was a good episode. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to spoil this because it's been out there already, and if you haven't, you already have. The twist is that the Frontier Fighters are the Slicers. Now, if that sounds like it came out of nowhere, it's because it did. There was no indications that the Slicers were the Frontier Fighters. The only indication was that both of these organizations just showed up out of nowhere. We had no previous lore of the Slicers or the Frontier Fighters, and there was definitely some discussion in lore, or there was at least some things like who these people were, where they come from, like in some of the mission dialogue. But I don't care if it's a spoiler. I'm saying it because you need to understand that it's already been spoiled. Like, it's been out there for a long time. It's a shitty twist. It's a bad twist. Because a good twist allows your gamer, your player, your reader, your watcher to put clues together to be able to determine that, hey, there's something off here. It smells bad. And if the only thing you have is mission descriptions, that's problematic. There should have been clues. There should have been things strung about. There were a couple of data pads, which I was able to find, but none of them indicated that the Slicers were the Frontier Fighters. Nothing that I could find seems to indicate that until they just sort of appeared as saying, by the way, the Slicers are the Frontier Fighters. Yeah, the Frontier Fighters are brutal. They're maniacal. They're genocidal. But so are the Headhunters. So, like, and yeah, there were some of their actions were a little weird, but you would only be able to figure out what those actions were if you already took the missions. So the smugness isn't helping, Elliot, because it's not good. That just wasn't a well done twist. I do think if they learned from this and improved it and gave something like an off-ramp, that would be better. In fact, it seems like they already have. I'll pull this up right here, because this is from Elliot, posted today.
You can take away my spaceship.
I'm gonna turn those off for now. So this is posted by Elliot. It's a purely narrative phase, with the truth being revealed that the Frontier Fighters are pulling back for now. This part serves as a narrative conclusion and also as a moral chaser for anyone we tricked and feels bad that they committed genocide on an entire solar system. So the question is, why? What was the reason for this twist? And maybe they'll reveal a reason for it down the line. But the fact that they were saying it really matters, it matters what you choose, it matters what you choose, and then a combination of either bugs or just straight up they decided to chicken out the last minute, there is no payoff. It's just there. It's poor writing. It doesn't work well with what Star Citizen is trying to be, and even if, like, from what they've even said that their statement goals are. So what I would pull from this is that CIG needs to kind of maybe pull back a little bit and maybe take a debrief and see what went wrong. And personally, if I was to give my opinion on this, as somebody who has studied the lore extensively, who has seen how these writers write, I would say you need to do two things. One, everything needs to be in game. We are beyond the point where you can put something on a website or put something on YouTube, and that counts as helping the players out. That is a failure of narrative. Your game, you were running a video game. That video game needs to have things in the video game that people can play. Homework is not fun. No one wants to do homework to play their games. So you need to start adding things in there that allows people to understand these things exist. Another thing is, do not rely on mission. Mission dialogue and data pads are an awful thing to rely on. You need to start adding characters. Those characters need to be introducing these missions, they need to be introducing these factions. You need to understand what's at stake. Even if it's one cutscene or one character you talk to, or just a talking head in a corner with some audio over it. There needs to be some context as to what's going on. One or two things that allows the players to know, hey, this is suspicious. There's something funky going on. That would make players feel a little bit better. And if players still screw up and just go, I don't care, pay's good, the skins look good, I'm gonna go after this, then you can give them an off-ramp. Once they just go, are we the baddies? If you give them that off-ramp, then players will still have made the decision based off of poor understanding what was going on, but they have a chance to get away and then either join one of the other factions or just get out of the whole thing altogether if they don't want to suffer the consequences. You need those things. If you don't have those things, players are going to feel bad. They're not going to, they'll feel bad about their decisions, and then they'll feel like they've been tricked, and then they won't participate in your events. If they feel like none of their decisions matter, that CIG can just pull the rug out from them at the 11th hour without any consequences for them, but consequences for you, without any way of you knowing what happened, that feels bad. It feels like you were like cheated. And now I don't think anyone is losing their mind over this, especially since it's so buggy right now that it doesn't really work the way it wants to. But that I think that's what they should be learning from this. And now I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff they recorded was pre the reveal. So the smugness may have been coming out of the idea that they'll find out when you play it, but tone that down a little bit, Elliot. Tone it down. Earn that twist. If you earn the twist, then people will like you. If you didn't earn the twist, people just feel like it's bad storytelling. So that is what I will say on this ISC, the content-driven ISC released on it was today, the 13th, I think. Yeah, 2/13/2025. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, let me know if you want me to do more of this. And if you like more lore content, deep diving into Star Citizen lore, I'm actually doing an entire video on this event and some of the possible backstories behind all the things that are going on and the factions and what this might mean. That go to youtube.com/TheAstroHistorian for more of that. With that being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.